Heartwarming Plea, save me and I'll give you my innocence. Incredible transformation revealed. The sun hung low in the sky, casting its warm glow over Maplewood, a small Midwestern town where everyone knew each other's names. Emma, a 32-year-old single mother, glanced through the window of the local diner, wiping her hands on her apron as she watched children playing in the park. Her heart swelled with pride as she spotted her 8-year-old son, Jake, running laughing with the others. But the laughter didn't always reach Jake's eyes. The sting of bullying had started to dull his bright spirit, leaving Emma tense with worry. Balancing two jobs, serving breakfast to weary farmers and cleaning homes across town, Emma worked tirelessly, pouring love and sweat into providing for her son. Each night, after long hours, she'd tuck Jake in and whisper, "We're a team, buddy. No one could ever be stronger than us." But doubt crept in, gnawing at her resolve. She had made sacrifices, but how could she shield Jake from the cutting remarks of classmates who looked down on their humble living conditions? Just when it felt like she was finally getting a grip, her estranged ex-husband, Brian, swaggered back into town, bleeding confidence and wealth. He met Emma at the local fair, the scent of popcorn and cotton candy heavy in the air. "You can't keep him, Emma," he declared, his polished lawyer persona towering over her shaky foundation. "You're unfit. I'll fight for custody." A chill ran down Emma's spine. How could this man, who had disappeared from their lives, return and shatter the fragile life she'd built for Jake? As if sensing the storm brewing, Mr. Thompson, her elderly neighbor, stepped in. A war veteran with a heart of gold, he rallied Maplewood, opening his home for a fundraiser to support Emma. On the day of the event, the whole town gathered, the atmosphere electric with compassion. "She's always been there for us," Mr. Thompson pleaded with tear-filled eyes, recounting his own battles. Hope flickered in Emma's chest as she saw familiar faces, friends who stood beside her, chanting her name, but with every hug came whispers, planting seeds of doubt. "She might not be enough," others suggested under hushed breaths. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Living in a storm of anxiety, Emma felt the world's eyes on her, judging her worth as a mother. Could she rise above it all? Her heart raced as she raced after Jake at the fair, taking in his laughter until it all became real. In the midst of the merriment, Jake looked up at her, fear etched in his small features. "Save me, and I'll give you my innocence." The crowd fell silent. The weight of his words pierced Emma, exposing the raw vulnerability of her child trapped in a tug-of-war for his future. Emma's breath hitched. A mother's heart cracked open at the sight of her son pleading. Would the community stand with her against the shadows of judgment? Would they fight for their definition of family? As the clamor of voices swirled around, Emma realized she had to confront the doubts and biases not just for herself, but for Jake. The stakes had never felt higher. Could she redefine love in a world that often valued only the pockets over the heart? Emma stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. The words Jake had spoken echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of the fragility of childhood innocence. Around her, the fair's vibrant colors dulled, the laughter of children fading into a distant hum. She knelt beside Jake, grasping his small hands tightly, warmth radiating even in the chill of fear. "Buddy, it's okay. I'm here. We're a team," she whispered, struggling to keep her voice steady, but deep down, she knew the truth. The storm wasn't just a passing squall, it was a tempest that threatened to tear apart everything she cherished. The crowd, once buzzing with excitement, now watched the scene unfold with bated breath. Whispers flitted through the air: concern, pity, judgment. Emma could almost feel their eyes piercing through her, each one weighing her worth as a mother against the backdrop of Brian's return. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for Jake's spirit, his belief that he was deserving of love and stability. "Let us go home," she finally said, breaking the cocoon of silence that had enveloped them. She pulled Jake into a gentle hug, feeling him relax against her. As they walked away from the fairground, heads turned, murmurs followed, but Emma held Jake close, shielding him from the world's denouncement. Once inside their small, yet cozy apartment, Emma let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Jake clambered onto the couch, pulling a cushion into his lap. His eyes were wide and shiny, the spark of innocence flickering, but still present. "Mom," he said quietly, "will Dad take me away? I don't want to leave you." Emma felt the crack in her heart deepen. She needed to reassure him. "No one is taking you from me, Jake. I promise. No matter what happens, I'm your mom, and I'm not going anywhere." She seated herself on the floor beside him, taking his hands in hers again, squeezing tightly. "We'll fight together." As the days passed, the weight of Brian's threats and the judgment of the townsfolk loomed heavier. Emma fortified herself with resolve. The fundraiser had been a blessing, sparking a flicker of hope, but she needed a solid plan. She picked up old legal documents Brian had left behind all those years ago, reminders of a life she'd fought to rebuild. Emma spent long nights researching, reading about custody laws and parental rights. With every page turned, she felt a transformation within her. No longer just a woman at the mercy of life's challenges, she was a mother, fierce and determined. And while the world had once defined her by her circumstances, now she fought to redefine that narrative. One evening, as she sat at the kitchen table, caffeine-fueled and weary, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an old friend, offering help, a family lawyer who specialized in cases just like hers. Hope surged within her. What if this is the break I need? Emma wondered aloud, feeling renewed. Emma gathered her courage. "I can do this. We can do this." And as she flipped through the contacts on her phone, a new wave of determination washed over her. But just as she was about to dial, another message chimed in. It was a note from Brian, one that promised chaos would soon follow. "What now?" she murmured, staring at her phone. The storm was closing in, but this time, she was ready to meet it head-on. The question hung in the air as she prepared for the battle ahead: was she strong enough to take on a man who thrived on intimidation and wealth? Emma felt the stakes rising higher, uncertainty curling into every corner of her mind. Would she ever truly be able to protect Jake from the impending invasion? Emma sat in the dim light of her kitchen, her heart racing as she stared at the message from Brian. The screen seemed to glow ominously, a stark reminder of the battle that loomed ahead. She rubbed her temples, trying to ease the tension building there. The swirling doubts about Brian and his intentions filled her mind like dark clouds, threatening to burst. "Focus, Emma," she whispered to herself. "You need a plan." Jake's laughter echoed from the living room, a splinter of light in her heavy thoughts. He was oblivious to the storm brewing outside and the chaos that Brian could unleash. It made Emma's resolve stronger. She couldn't let fear suffocate the joy in her son's life. That was something Brian would never take away from them. Breathing deeply, she flipped her phone over and dialed the number of the family lawyer her friend had recommended. Each ring sent a fresh wave of anxiety through her. What am I even going to say? She wondered. Just then, Jake appeared in the doorway, his face alight with the innocence and curiosity only a child could possess. "Mom, can we make cookies? Please." His plea pulled her from the spiral of worry. Emma smiled and nodded, grateful for his lightness, as she motioned for him to join her in the kitchen. "Cookies it is. But we need to move fast, we're fighting the clock here." Each step in the kitchen became a distraction from the heavier thoughts tethering her. They rummaged through cabinets, pulling out flour and chocolate chips, the sounds of clattering utensils providing a comforting rhythm. As they mixed the ingredients, Jake started humming the tune of one of his favorite songs. His little voice was like a balm to her anxious heart. Emma found herself moving in sync with him, the warm memories of baking together flooding back. This was what mattered. Moments like these, once the cookies were nestled in the oven, Emma crouched down to Jake's level. "Hey, buddy, how about we make a deal?" she proposed, her heart warm with affection. "If you keep being brave and believing in us, I promise we'll bake something special every Friday. Sound good?" "Really?" His eyes brightened, a sprinkle of excitement dancing across his cheeks. "Absolutely. Just remember, we're a team. No matter what happens, we'll face it together." The sincerity in her voice was unwavering, and she hoped it transferred to him like an anchor in a storm. Moments later, as they waited for the cookies, Emma checked her phone again. Her heart skipped when she noticed a reply from the lawyer, confirming an appointment. Hope flickered again, and she felt the weight of uncertainty lift just a bit. But the relief was short-lived when Brian's name flashed again, demanding her attention. "Mom! Look!" Jake's voice jolted her from her thoughts. He held up a sticky drawing he had just made, a squiggly masterpiece of their family, with big smiles and bright colors. "This is us. It's perfect, isn't it?" The simple joy in his expression snapped Emma back to the present. The love behind that drawing reminded her that even in the darkest times, light could shine through. "It's perfect, Jake. Just like us." She leaned in to kiss his forehead, feeling warmth spread through her. But in the pit of her stomach, the anxiety was still there, swirling with uncertainty. How could she protect this moment? As the cookies baked and Jake excitedly chattered about superheroes and school, she felt the weight of the impending storm rumble in the distance. And just like that, a decision loomed over her: should she reveal Brian's threat to Jake? She didn't want fear to be part of his world. But could she hide it, knowing full well what lay ahead? As she prepared to shape the next cookie, Emma knew one thing. Time was running out, and she would have to confront Brian soon. The thought sent chills down her spine. Would she find the strength to protect Jake? Her heart raced again as she thought of the upcoming confrontation with Brian, the man she had desperately tried to escape. Could she really withstand the storm alone? In that moment, it became crystal clear: she needed more than just a plan. She needed help, not just from the lawyer, but from the very community that had watched her fight. The question now was, how far was she willing to reach out and risk everything for her son? The cookies filled the kitchen with a warm, sweet aroma, and for a moment, Emma allowed herself to revel in the comfort of those familiar scents. But even the smell of fresh chocolate chip cookies couldn't drown out the sound of worry gnawing at her insides. "Mom, can I help more?" Jake asked, wiping flour from his forehead dramatically. His enthusiasm sliced through her lingering anxiety. "Of course, superstar," she said, her voice lighter. "You can start decorating." She handed him an array of sprinkles and icing. As Jake meticulously created treats that resembled colorful monsters rather than cookies, Emma's thoughts wandered back to Brian. Each day that passed pushed her closer to that confrontation, a thought that sent chills down her spine. Just how far would he go to regain control? Did he know the moment he stepped back into their lives would be the moment they fought back harder? "Mom." Jake's curious gaze pulled her from her thoughts. He paused, his hands poised mid-sprinkle. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, buddy," she said, forcing a smile. "Just a bit tired." He nodded, but Emma saw the flicker of concern crossing his innocent face, and it stirred something deep within her. She was supposed to be his pillar of strength, not the one leaning on him for comfort. But who could she really lean on? The walls around her seemed to close in, a suffocating reminder that she was isolated, even without Brian in the picture. "We're a team, remember?" she reminded him gently, echoing their earlier conversation as she knelt beside him. "I need you to be brave." "I can be brave," Jake declared, his chin lifted defiantly. "Braver than anyone." Instinctively, Emma pulled him close, engulfed in a hug that felt both reassuring and heart-wrenching. "I know you can," she whispered, feeling a brave shimmer of hope fill the air between them. As the timer beeped, signaling the cookies were ready, Emma reached out to grab them. The moment she opened the oven, the sight of the golden brown delights filled her with a sense of accomplishment, a small victory in a day overshadowed by uncertainty. But just as she turned to share the triumph with Jake, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from the lawyer, but the troubling thought about Brian's impending return gripped her like a vice. The heavy weight of reality beckoned, a reminder of the battle slowly creeping toward them. Emma's heart sank as she acknowledged the truth: nothing would change unless she took action. The fight wasn't just against Brian, it was a fight against the fear that threatened to consume her. She had to find the right words, the right support. She needed her community to rally around them. "Jake, how about after the cookies we make invitations for our cookie party?" she suggested, trying to light up the atmosphere. "Can we invite the kids from school?" His eyes sparkled with excitement. "Of course. Chocolate monsters for everyone." For a fleeting moment, the laughter bubbled up like a stream, and they flitted from task to task. Jake's joy was infectious, even as thoughts of Brian loomed on the edges of her mind. Emma let herself enjoy Jake's happiness, a brief escape from reality. But as the evening drew closer and the crumbs settled around them like tiny reminders of their fun, the anxiety crept back. The families in her neighborhood knew what it meant to protect their own. They had each seen their own struggles, perhaps not as painfully as hers, but still as they cleaned their mess, Emma's resolve began to crystallize. She would reach out. She wouldn't face this storm alone. And then the noise of flipping through her contacts stopped her cold. A familiar name flickered before her eyes. Kate, her neighbor and a fierce protector of her own children. Biting her lip, Emma hesitated. It felt vulnerable to share her struggles, but what if her community truly was ready to step up? With a shaking hand, she typed out a message, her heart racing. Could this be the lifeline she needed? Just before she hit send, a sudden sound from outside interrupted her thoughts, a loud crash. Emma felt her breath hitch, a sense of dread filling the silence that followed. Turning to Jake, her heart raced as her mind flashed to the worst. "Stay here," she commanded, her voice low but urgent. As she moved toward the door, a dreadful weight settled in the pit of her stomach. What if Brian had arrived early? The moment of truth was upon her, and she drew a shaky breath, trying to find her mind amidst the chaos that loomed just beyond her own front door. With her heart pounding loudly, she reached for the handle, knowing that once she opened the door, their world might change forever. What awaited her on the other side? With a deep breath, Emma gripped the doorknob, her palms clammy, and flung the door open. Light from the porch spilled into the dim hallway, casting soft shadows around her. The sight before her was anything but what she expected. Standing there, wide-eyed and a bit shaken, was their neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, holding a recycling bin that had toppled over in the wind. "Oh, dear. I'm sorry to startle you," she exclaimed, a sheepish grin on her face. "This little guy decided to roll away from me." A wave of relief swept over Emma, quickly followed by concern. "Are you okay?" she asked, stepping out onto the porch now, her heart still racing. Mrs. Thompson chuckled lightly, brushing some stray hair behind her ear. "Just a little startled, I suppose. The wind can be a force around here. You know, with everything that's been going on lately, I just wanted to check in." Her tone was friendly, but that familiar weight returned. Emma felt the urge to confide in her neighbor, to spill the tide of worry threatening to overwhelm her. "Thank you for stopping by. It's just been a bit of a day," she said, glancing back into the house where Jake busily decorated the cookies. Mrs. Thompson followed her gaze, her expression softening. "Is he all right? I remember how hard things have been for you." Since the words hung in the air, a reminder of the storm that brewed on their horizon, Emma swallowed hard. "He's doing great. Really great actually. It's just, he doesn't know everything." Her neighbor nodded, eyes sympathetic. "Kids know more than we think. You're doing a good job, Emma." "Thank you," Emma felt a swell of gratitude. Maybe this was the start she needed, a glimmer of community that could help fortify her resolve. Actually, I was wondering if you and Jake would want to join us for dinner tomorrow. It's been too long since we all had a nice meal together. Mrs. Thompson's invitation was genuine and warm. As she considered it, the idea of openness took hold in Emma's mind. That sounds wonderful, she replied, feeling a small thrill at the thought of belonging and support. Maybe we can bring some of our monster cookies. Absolutely. The more, the merrier. Mrs. Thompson laughed, but then her face turned serious. And, Emma? If you ever need to talk or, she hesitated, searching for the right words, or if anything feels too overwhelming, I'm just next door. You're not alone in this. The sincerity in her words struck a chord in Emma. It felt like a little safety net. Thank you, really. That means a lot, she whispered, her voice cracking a bit. As the conversation flowed easily, Emma felt a warmth creeping into her heart, a promise that perhaps her struggles wouldn't be just hers to bear. But beneath that warmth, a flicker of anxiety told her that Brian was still out there, biding his time. After Mrs. Thompson left, Emma closed the door and turned back to the kitchen. Jake's laughter filled the space, the carefree sound bouncing off the walls. He was blissfully unaware of the undercurrents swirling around them. Hey, did Mrs. Thompson invite us for dinner? Jake chirped, excitedly. Yes, she did. With cookies. Emma replied, her spirits buoyed by his enthusiasm. As they continued their baking, Emma's phone buzzed again. She glanced down, a wave of apprehension cascading through her as she saw it was a message from her lawyer. What could it be? Another step in this tangled mess. She hesitated, the comfort of the moment slipping a little. She wanted to hurry and see what news awaited. Jake, why don't you take a break and work on your invitation drawing? She suggested hurriedly, fingers trembling as they hovered over the phone screen. Just as she replied to the message, a sharp rap echoed from the door again. This time her chest tightened, fearing the worst. Just a second. Emma called, her heart thudding against her ribcage. She turned to Jake, who had a Cookie Monster drawing in hand, eyes wide with curiosity. Should I? He started, but even he could feel the tension in the air. With renewed resolve, Emma opened the door once more, just as a familiar voice. Enough to rattle her world soared through the stillness. Emma. It's me, I need to talk. Her breath caught in her throat as she faced one of her greatest fears personified. How would she handle the confrontation that awaited her? Would they finally have it out, or would it spiral into chaos? Emma's heart raced as she stared at the figure before her. Brian stood there, his usual confidence replaced momentarily by uncertainty. Her instincts screamed for her to slam the door shut and retreat into the comforting cocoon of her home. But as Jake's curious gaze turned toward the doorway, she knew she couldn't do that. Brian, she said, her voice low but steady. What do you want? He shifted, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his jeans. The sight was bewildering, so ordinary, yet anything but. I need to talk. Please, can I come in? The request hung in the air, heavy with tension. Her immediate thought was no way. But the image of Jake's innocent face, staring at the doorway with an unmistakable echo of confusion, twisted her insides. Emma inhaled sharply, caught between past pains and a flicker of possibility. Just for a minute. But no funny business, she warned, stepping aside reluctantly. As he walked in, Emma felt an electric chill pulse through the air. She watched the space between his shoulders, which seemed to hunch under the weight of things unsaid. The home felt smaller somehow, the walls closing in as they both stood rooted in this moment. Jake, blissfully naive, broke the tension like a sunbeam piercing through the fog. Are you here to talk about our cookies? He asked, his innocence a shield against the heaviness swirling around them. Brian's lips twisted into an awkward grin, the mask of bravado slipping for a heartbeat. Yeah. Cookies. I heard you guys make some serious monster cookies. Emma tightened her jaw, fighting off the urge to roll her eyes. Right, Well, we do. But that's not what you came to talk about. You're right, Brian sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I wanted to apologize. For everything. The words landed like a stone. Emma blinked in disbelief, holding back a laugh that threatened to explode into embarrassing sobs. Apologize? That's rich considering everything you've put us through. He flinched, taking a step toward her. I know. It's just I've been thinking. About my mistakes, and how I never really understood what I was doing to you and Jake. This was new. A side of Brian she hadn't seen in years. Doubt wove through her, each glare and accusation replaying in her mind. You think saying you're sorry makes it right? No, he replied, shaking his head fervently. But I want to show you I can be better. For you both. Jake, who had been quietly observing, shifted his weight. You want to be our friend? Like Mrs. Thompson? Emma shot him a look, hoping he wouldn't utter anything that could complicate this already tangled moment. Brian's expression softened as he knelt to Jake's level. If that's what you want, then yes. I mean it. The silence that followed churned with tension. Emma's heart felt like it was racing in two different directions. Part of her wanted to kick him out, demand he leave their lives forever. Another part, maybe a softer, more desperate part, wondered if there was a chance for forgiveness. You can start by giving us space, she replied quietly, finding her voice amidst the internal chaos. Prove you're changed. Prove you want to be better. Brian nodded, a flicker of hope in his gaze. I can do that. Just know I'm here, no matter what. Just like that, the uneasy stillness returned. Emma felt the weight of his presence in the room, but strangely, it didn't tingle in her veins like it had before. Instead, it felt complicated. After he left, and the door clicked shut behind him, Emma turned slowly back to Jake. His cookie drawing lay discarded on the table, forgotten in the whirlwind of emotions. Mom? Jake asked softly, his voice surprisingly steady. Do you think he really means it? Emma crouched beside him, brushing her fingers through his wild hair. I hope so, buddy. But time will tell. The weight of the conversation settled between them, a reminder that choices were never simple. A lump formed in her throat as she wondered if they had truly moved closer to healing or had only opened a door that led to new challenges. As the sun dipped outside, casting long shadows through the kitchen, Emma felt the chill of uncertainty linger. She took a deep breath, trying to find clarity, but the unease of the situation wrapped around her like a dark fog. Want to help with the cookies? She asked, forcing a smile. Yeah. Jake grinned, brightening the moment, but a part of Emma could not shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger storm. Little did she know, Brian was already plotting his next move, and it would threaten to change everything they had worked so hard to rebuild. Emma's heart began to race once more, anticipating what was yet to come. Emma busied herself in the kitchen, the comforting aroma of melting butter and brown sugar filling the air. As she mixed the dough, her thoughts danced between the mundane task and the whirlwind of emotions left by Brian's visit. Jake was chatting away, his voice sweet and light, reciting piecemeal ideas for what kind of cookies they should make. Can we make the ones with the chocolate chunks? He exclaimed, eyes sparkling with the kind of excitement only a child could muster. Of course, buddy, she replied, forcing her smile wider. She tried to focus on his infectious joy, but her mind flashed back to Brian's face, both remorseful and hopeful, each line on his brow speaking volumes about his inner turmoil. Mom. Jake's small voice broke through her thoughts, drawing her attention. Do you think Dad will come back? The question hit her like a punch in the gut. Well, he might. But we just need to take things one step at a time. Jake's brows furrowed. But what if he's a good guy now? Like Mr. Thompson? Emma winced. She didn't want to spill doubt into Jake's innocent heart. Sometimes people change, but it takes time and lots of effort. I think he seems nice, Jake said, still hopeful. Maybe he'll bring us pizza next time. Emma chuckled softly, grateful for his buoyant spirit. Just remember, it's not all about pizza or cookies. She reached out to ruffle his hair, trying to sweep away the worries that had clouded her mind. It's about trust. As they formed cookies on the baking tray, Emma found herself needing the normalcy of this moment. The rhythmic plopping of dough onto the sheet was soothing, like a meditation. But she couldn't maintain the pretense forever. A nagging voice at the back of her mind reminded her that Brian was out there, stirring trouble on the horizon. Later that evening, while Jake napped on the couch wrapped in his blanket, Emma sat with a mug of tea, gazing out the window. The sunset painted the sky a brilliant hue of orange, but all she could see were shadows creeping in. Would Brian keep his word? Could he really change? Or would this just be another chapter of disappointment written in their lives? She couldn't let him hurt Jake again. Her phone buzzed, jarring her from her thoughts. The message was from Brian, simple but loaded. Can we meet tomorrow? I have something important to give you both. Heart racing, Emma stared at the screen. What could possibly be so important? Her instincts urged her to ignore him, to protect her son. But another part whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was a chance for real closure or a new beginning. She took a deep breath, gripping her tea tightly, contemplating her response. Just as she decided to reply, Jake stirred, blinking up at her. What's wrong, Mom? Nothing, sweetheart, she said, forcing another smile. Just thinking. Is it about Daddy? His innocent voice pulled at her heart. It's about all of us, really. Can I come? He asked, sitting up now, eyes wide and questioning. Emma's mind raced, but then she took a steadying breath. She didn't want to keep him in the dark, but she also wanted to protect him. Jake leaned closer, a look of determination settled on his youthful face. What if he really is nice this time? Emma felt a swell of emotions rise within her. Would she ever be able to shield him from pain? We'll see, she replied quietly, knowing she had to figure this out soon. As the twilight deepened outside, casting shadows in the corners of their cozy home, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was about to begin. Would she choose forgiveness, or would she close the door for good? Deep fear clutched at her heart. Whatever happened next could change everything. The night stretched on, heavy with the weight of uncertainty. Tomorrow would dawn with a decision, and Emma knew it wouldn't be easy. But perhaps, just perhaps, it would lead them toward a light she desperately craved. The next morning arrived too quickly, the sun peeking through the blinds and casting soft lines across Emma's face. She felt like she'd barely slept. Her dreams swirled with images of Brian, some held promise, while others shadowed her with dread. In the quiet kitchen, Emma poured a bowl of cereal for Jake, listening to the crunching sound as he dug in. The familiarity of these moments kept her grounded, but the looming meeting weighed heavily on her. Are you excited to see Dad? Jake asked, his cheerfulness infectious yet tinged with innocence. Emma was torn. Excited? It's complicated. But we'll be okay, she said, trying to reassure both him and herself. Each bite of cereal felt like a reminder of the uncertainty waiting ahead. After breakfast, they got ready, Jake bubbling with an energy that only a child could muster before such a significant event. Emma watched him, heart brimming with love. She wanted to protect that light in his eyes, yet it felt so fragile. Mom. Jake broke her reverie. What if he shows up with a puppy? His imagination raced. Let us not get ahead of ourselves, she replied, wishing she could match his enthusiasm. We'll just see how it goes. As they drove to the cafe where they agreed to meet, Emma's palms felt clammy on the steering wheel. Each traffic light that turned red seemed to stretch out time, emphasizing the weight of what felt like both a first step toward healing and a potential pitfall into despair. Arriving at the cafe, she took a deep breath. The aroma of coffee wafted through the air, mixing with the sound of light chatter. As they walked in, her chest tightened, spotting Brian at a corner table. He looked different, cleaner, sharper. The remorse she'd seen yesterday still played across his face, but this time it was mixed with determination. "Mom, there he is!" Jake exclaimed, breaking her train of thought. "Yeah," she replied, hesitant. As they approached, Brian's eyes widened in surprise and hope. He stood, almost instinctively, adjusting his shirt as if wanting to present his best self. "Hey, Emma." "Hey, Jake," he said softly. "Hi, Dad," Jake said, taking a seat without hesitation while Emma followed suit, moving cautiously as if she were avoiding a fragile thread about to snap. "Thanks for meeting me," Brian started, his voice shaky but sincere. I just wanted to talk things over. I've been working on some things and I promise I'm different now." Emma nodded, searching his face for signs of the past, for the darkness that once clung to him. "What do you have to share with us?" Brian glanced at Jake, then at Emma, as if weighing the importance of his next words. "I want to show you both that I can be the dad you deserve, that I can be a part of your lives the right way. I want us to try again as a family." Her heart raced at his declaration. Hope flickered, but so did fear. Could she really trust him? Jake's innocent smile reminded her of all that was at stake. "Dad," Jake's voice broke into her thoughts. "Are you gonna bring us pizza again? Like last time?" The question, innocent yet poignant, sliced through the weight of the moment. Emma couldn't help but smile despite the tension. "That's a start," Brian chuckled lightly, his gaze softening. The atmosphere shifted slightly, a sliver of warmth breaking through the chill of uncertainty. Emma felt her heart swing back and forth, torn between the yearning for family and the instinct to guard Jake's heart. As Brian began sharing stories, talking about his plans, she noticed he told them with a new approach, almost as if he were pleading for their understanding. But there was that voice nagging in the back of her head. Could this really be a shift in him? The clock ticked on, and with each passing minute, Emma could feel the weight of a decision pressing closer. This moment felt bigger than just a simple meeting. It was about the future they could build or the wounds that could be reopened. As she opened her mouth to speak, her phone buzzed in her pocket, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message, and her heart sank. "Mom, is everything okay?" Jake's eyes darted between her and Brian, sensing the change in her demeanor. Emma froze, the thrum of uncertainty echoing in her chest. What was waiting for her on the other side of that notification? "Maybe I should check," she said slowly, voice hitching. But just as she reached for her phone, Brian leaned in, his expression earnest. "Please give me this chance, Emma." As she looked at him, empathy and fear clashed within her. Could she really allow the past to fade into a hopeful future, or would she doom them all by opening that door again? Steeling herself, she opened her phone, her heart racing as she began to read the message. Tomorrow might change everything, but today felt equally monumental. What lay ahead was a choice she couldn't ignore, one that would define not just her relationship with Brian, but the life she envisioned for Jake. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the screen, breath hitching as she processed the words. The message was from her sister, "Clara, call me ASAP. It's urgent." Just as she felt a wave of concern, another alarming thought crept in. What if this was about Brian? Maybe he hadn't changed at all. Setting her phone down, Emma glanced over at Brian. He caught her gaze, his eyes full of an anxious hope that twisted her stomach. Did he even understand how fragile their trust was? And more importantly, did he realize the stakes involved? "Mom." Jake's small voice pulled her from the whirlwind brewing in her mind. He sensed the tension, his innocent face displaying confusion. "Is something wrong?" "No, sweetie," Emma quickly answered, straightening her posture in an effort to put on a brave front. "I just need to handle something, okay?" She picked up the phone again, fingers hovering over the screen. What could be so urgent? But as she contemplated making the call, the tension in the air vibrated around them. Brian's presence loomed large, the man trying to convince them of his intentions while still feeling like a ghost from the past. Emma, his voice was low, earnest, breaking through her indecision. I need you to know I'm not the same man I was. I mean it. I'm working hard to build something new here for you and Jake. Jake's eyes sparkled with childlike hope as he looked at his father. You really mean it, Dad? You're gonna stick around this time? She watched Brian as he nodded, a small smile breaking through the tension on his face. The sincerity in his expression stirred something within her, but doubt clouded her heart. Could she really allow Jake to believe in a fantasy? Listening to you both right now, it feels different, Brian continued, his voice gaining strength. I messed up, but I want to earn your trust, prove myself to you guys. I don't want to just be a distant memory. I want to be here, I want to be your dad. Every word he spoke felt like two sides of a coin, one shimmering with hope, the other heavy with worry. Emma felt torn between nurturing the budding trust in her son and the fear of a betrayal she wasn't sure she could withstand. I need time, she finally said, the words spilling out before she could think them through. I want to believe you, but it's going to take time. Time is all I need, Brian replied quickly, a flicker of relief dancing in his eyes. I'm prepared to wait as long as it takes. She took a deep breath, weighing the scale of their conversation. It was both a turning point and a precipice, tempting to step forward into a new chapter as a family, while equally terrifying to linger on the edge of the unknown. Jake, what do you think? Emma asked, seeking her son's opinion. His gaze oscillated between them, eyes filled with a blend of trust and curiosity. I'd like to have Dad over for pizza, Jake said, unburdened by adult worries. His innocence radiated a warmth that was both uplifting and heartbreaking for Emma. The mention of pizza made Brian chuckle softly, bringing everyone closer to the lighter side of the moment. Pizza sounds great. And maybe a movie afterward? Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed again, this time with an incoming call from Clara. As the familiar ring echoed in the quiet cafe, Emma hesitated, the tension knotting tighter in her stomach. I'm sorry, I have to take this, she said, rising slightly, eyeing Brian with an apologetic look. It's my sister. I'll just be a minute. While Emma stepped outside, the air cool against her cheeks, she took the call. Clara, what is it? Is everything all right? I couldn't wait, Emma. You need to know something about Brian, Clara said, her voice urgent. Emma's breath quickened. What about him? Is he? But Clara cut her off. You need to listen, this is serious. Can you meet me? There is something you need to hear, something that changes everything. The ground felt unstable beneath Emma's feet as she realized she was standing at the edge of a cliff, peering into a chasm of uncertainty. Okay, I'll be there. But I'm with him right now, she stammered, anxiety clawing at her throat. Emma, you might want to consider what you're getting into, because this could change everything. As Emma hung up, her heart raced with dread. She returned to the cafe, the joy that had flickered a moment ago now dimmed by a shadow of concern. Brian looked up, hope still gleaming in his eyes. But could she trust that gleam wasn't just the reflection of her own emerging hopes? As she sat back down, her thoughts whirled, and the reality of the moment sank deeper into her soul. Would she risk her heart to grasp a love that might shatter again? Or would she turn her back on the potential of a family at last? And somewhere in the depths of her mind, a silent question loomed over everything. Was this hope they were building real, or just another illusion waiting to crumble? Emma felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she settled back into her seat. Brian sat across from her, an eager anticipation filling his gaze, but all she could think about was the urgency of her sister's call ringing in her ears. Her heart raced, a tempest of emotions swirling around her as the noise of the cafe faded into a muffled hum. Everything okay? Brian asked, his voice breaking through the haze of her thoughts. Yeah, just my sister, she forced a smile, although her mind was miles away. Let us just keep talking. Jake glanced between them, sensing the tension. Can we talk about our pizza plans? His innocent smile cut through the heaviness, reminding Emma of the joys she wanted to protect. And the movie? Brian chuckled awkwardly, and for a fleeting moment, the atmosphere shifted, lightening just enough for Emma to feel a flicker of hope. She couldn't let doubt extinguish it, not while Jake was beaming with excitement. Sure, I'd love to make that happen, buddy, Brian replied, his eyes softening as he looked at Jake, who plucked a piece of paper to doodle on, overflowing with joy, but in the back of Emma's mind, Clara's words echoed like a warning bell. You need to know something, it changes everything. The urgency of Clara's message jostled her resolve. How could she reconcile Brian's intentions with whatever revelation awaited her? As the minutes passed, Emma's heart felt heavy with indecision. Could she truly trust him? Could they build a future together, or would they simply be reopening old wounds? Emma, Brian's voice cut through her thoughts once more. I'm committed to this. To us. I want to show you I've changed. His sincerity tugged at her heart, but insecurities whispered in her ears. Doubt threatened to drown out the glimmer of hope Jake had kindled within her. Change takes time, Brian, she said, her tone steady but measured. You can't expect me to just believe that everything is different now. Time, he nodded affirmatively. I'm willing to wait. I understand I've caused so much pain. Jake chimed in, eyes sparkling. Can we have a family game night too? I can beat you in Uno, Dad. Brian's smile widened, and the warmth it radiated enveloped the table. I would love that. Bring on the challenge. For a brief moment, Emma forgot how heavy their reality was, lost in the joy of her son's sweet banter. Then her phone vibrated on the table, and once again, the air turned electric. She picked it up to see a text from Clara, meet me at the park. It's urgent. Sorry, it's Clara again, Emma murmured, her heart racing. She felt the urgency in Clara's tone. I really need to go. Brian's expression shifted to concern. Is everything okay? Your sister. It's fine, it's just something important, she lied, the untruth weighing heavily on her. I'll be back, I promise. No, wait. Brian's voice was almost pleading. Can we talk more later? I want to explain everything. Emma hesitated. I'll think about it, Brian, she said softly, wanting to reassure him but unable to make promises. She turned to Jake, kneeling to his level. I'll be right back, okay? Keep doodling those awesome monsters. He grinned at his father's response, a small semblance of hope blossoming in the air. With a racing heart, Emma stepped into the sunlight outside the cafe, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. As she approached the park, her sister's worried face came into view. Clara's brow furrowed, concern etched deep into her features. Emma. Clara rushed to her, urgency coating her words. I'm so glad you came. You need to listen to me. With steady breaths, Emma nodded. What is it? What did you want to tell me about Brian? Clara took a moment, hesitating as if weighing her words. I know you want to believe he has changed. But there are some things you don't know. Emma's heart sank, her stomach twisting. What do you mean? Brian he has been having legal troubles. With debts and he has reached out to people he shouldn't have. Things he was involved with before they haven't gone away. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke, her eyes darting around as if she feared. Being overheard, shock coursed through Emma's veins. What do you mean, involved? What kind of trouble? People he owes money to, Clara breathlessly explained. I've heard rumors. He might be coming back to you not just for you and Jake, but also for help or support, which could put you both in jeopardy. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet, struggles of doubt and fear flooding her mind. The boundaries of her hope crumbled. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried to find proof first. I didn't want to worry you without facts, Clara replied. But now you need to make a choice for you and Jake. A weight settled heavily on Emma's heart. She felt sheer panic merge with the realization that what she had witnessed in the cafe had clouded her judgment. Could Brian's seemingly sincere words be rooted in something darker? "Thank you, Clara," Emma whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. Her heart raced as she faced the moment of reckoning. They walked back together, each step feeling heavier than the last. Emma knew she had to step into the uncomfortable truth. It was time to confront her fears and decide what was best for Jake. Reaching the cafe, she turned to her sister. "You got this," Clara encouraged, squeezing Emma's hand. "Just be strong for you both." With newfound determination, Emma took a deep breath, re-entering the cafe. Jake still sat with Brian, laughter bubbling between them as if the world hadn't changed. But Emma's eyes locked onto Brian, her resolve hardening. "Brian," she said, cutting through the laughter, her voice clear and strong. "We need to talk." Brian immediately sensed the shift, his expression transforming with concern. "What's wrong? I heard something about you. Something that changes everything." Sitting up straighter, Brian's composure faltered as she continued, "We can't pretend that everything is fine. I need the truth." Jake looked between them, confusion spreading on his small face. But Emma felt a strength welling up within her. No matter where this took them, she would protect her son at all costs. In that moment, her heart, filled with grief, hope, and love, declared one truth: she would determine her own future, a future made of real trust and love, not shadows. She was ready to chart a new course for herself and Jake, even if it meant closing a door on Brian forever. "Are you ready to face the truth?" she asked, locking eyes with him, emotion swirling within them. "Or are you still hiding behind lies?" And with those words, they both stood at the precipice of transformation. The decision hung valiantly in the air, waiting for a choice to be made. If this moment of clarity can inspire or resonate with you, don't just sit there. You need to subscribe now to join us for the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and be part of our journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let the world know that these stories matter. We want to hear from you, so comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending below. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share, because real fans know how important it is to be part of something this powerful.